All right, so let's move on to week 4 of May. Let's take a look at the first question we have here. The first one is the court passed judgment on the criminal and what him of access to his children. So in this case, we'll choose deprive. So when you deprive someone of something, which means you try to take away something from someone. So in this case, the court will just like deprive the criminal, which means they will take away the criminals, the certain kind of things, especially here we are talking about his access to his children. So which means the criminal could not see or visit his children anymore. And we don't use the word accuse here because when you accuse someone of something, and usually they'll be accuse someone of a crime or certain kind. For example, like the man was accused of a murder case, for example. So here we don't choose the word accuse. Then there's another one for number 7. E-learning and online courses on some practical ways to what technology into the classroom and track students' progress. So here we'll choose the word incorporate. So when you incorporate something, which means you try to put something together. So it's not about correlate. Correlate is from the word relate, which means two or things are related or kind of connected. So here we don't choose the one here. We use the word incorporate, which means you try to put them together. You try to integrate that one together. Then let's move on to number 13 for the close. So in this one, as you can see here, as the blaze shadow what with marking on the dial. So here we'll choose the word align. So be aligned with, which means you try to put them in a line, or you try to check something carefully and also usually quite precisely. And here it's not about identify with something. When we identify with something, which means we try to recognize something, a certain kind of item or a certain kind of object. But here we don't use the word identify. All right, so probably will be I try to identify myself with the character in the story, or the police could identify the criminals like photos or like any kind of evidence or proof the criminal kind of left, and we can use the word identify. All right, and then for number 14, here we'll choose the word allowed for. So we know the sentence will be the development of water clocks allowed for the measurement of time. Here we don't choose the one depended on. So when you depend on something, which means you try to rely on something. So as we can see, probably the development of water clocks will kind of depend on the measurement of water, right, instead of time. So probably it should be depend on certain kind of things to make the water clocks work. So it's not about the time measurement, all right? But we know it could allow for the measurement of time without using or without relying on the sun. Then for number 15, the last one we have here. So he said these what used water flowing and out of container with marking on it. So here we don't choose the word ornaments, because for the word ornaments will be something we use to decorate something. So for example, like at Christmas, probably you'll put some ornaments on the Christmas trees, right? So that's why we don't use the word ornaments here. So usually ornaments will be something we use to decorate something. And here we'll choose the word apparatus. Okay, apparatus. So apparatus will be certain kind of gadgets you have, especially for machines. So that's why here it would be better if we choose the word apparatus. So probably you can also write down the Chinese here if you don't quite understand for this one. Okay. Apparatus. Then let's move on to discourse we have here. Basically, you have some problems with the right answers we have here, especially for these two one. A lot of people kind of switch these two choices. So let's take a look at these two ones together to see why this one must be this one and why that one must be that one. So for the very first one, for number 19, here it says, however, diners are expected to follow strict rules concerning cleanliness. So that's why the keywords we will have here will be hygienic, right? Especially unhygienic, which means not clean. So that's to the keywords that are related. So then in the following start to talks about that it is necessary to wash one's hand before every meal. And then it says, if someone touches a communal dish with the eating hand, it is considered contaminated. All right, so which means they will be considered to be quite dirty. So that's why we will choose like this one, like when dining, for number F, right? When dining, one hand is used for eating and the other is used for passing dishes or serving food. So that's why we'll choose option or choice F here. So because we're talking about eating hand, so then in the following, we'll try to talk about what will happen to the eating hand. And the other one will be the one for you to pass food, all right? So that's all roughly about this one. So for other questions, if you still you don't quite understand, probably you can also leave a comment on the board of our classwork, and then I'll try to answer the questions over there. All right, see you next time.